Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is your Shut the Fuck Up. And we're saying shut the fuck up tonight to the GOP in its entirety. I don't want to hear any more about the border. I'm done here, okay? We should all be done here. We have heard, I don't know how long it has been now, that the border has been the primary issue, the number one driving force behind the GOP. This has been a problem. We hear about how the border's wide open and everybody's just flowing over the border, which, by the way, let me clarify something. That is an outright fucking lie. We do not have open borders. And you know what? I am totally liberal. I am totally left-wing, and I don't believe in open borders. I do believe in immigrants, though, because my family, my grandparents came over through Ellis Island, and this country was built on the backs of immigrants. Period. Okay? Period. End of story. I do not believe in closed borders, and that there is the rub. The Republican Party wants the borders completely closed. All right? That's the driving force. Because the Republican Party also wants to manage the border through cruelty, because that's what they have been advocating for years, and it is what went on under Donald Trump, and it is what is going on right now in Texas. And we'll get to that, but we're not there yet. So let's talk about this bipartisan bill that was negotiated for months. And the three people negotiating this bill were James Langford, Republican from Oklahoma, Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, and of all people, Kirsten Sinema, Independent, Arizona. And let me just say this. James Langford, for all of his work on this bill, the Republican, do you know what he got? You know what his thanks were? The Republican Party in Oklahoma censured him for crossing the aisle. The Republican Party censured James Langford for legislating, for governing, for doing something on behalf of the American people. Let me make that abundantly clear. Because the GOP, no matter what they're telling you, they do not care about you. All right? So this bill pretty much gives the GOP the vast majority of what they want, and it addresses issues that the Democrats had as well. It took months to get to this bill, okay? It took months to get here. And this bill was supported even by the Senate for a while, and then that imploded. It imploded for one reason, and there's one reason that you all need to know this. Donald Trump does not want the border dealt with. He wants the border dealt with when he is reelected. And Mike, our little Mike buddy there, the little Speaker of the House, a little troll, he came out openly and stated that they couldn't fix the border until Donald Trump was reelected. The little puppet, the little parrot, they're all a bunch of little puppets. Okay? No matter what the GOP tells you, no matter how they act and what their swagger is, what the GOP House is a bunch of little puppets with Donald Trump pulling their little strings and telling them how to act. They are cowards, okay? And they are self-serving because all they care about is what's going to happen to them. They don't give a shit about what's going to happen to you, who, by the way, pays their way and pays their health care. But don't worry about it, because once they're back in power again, they're going to take away your health care if they have their way. So what are the other things that this bill does? And by the way, like I said, the YouTube version of this video will be up sometime later tonight, and it will have all of the background material in this, and we'll talk about the bill, and it will show everything that this bill has, and it will show the progression of where this has gone, okay? But let me just say this. The first day that Joe Biden took office, okay, he presented the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. That's when this started. He sent that to Congress. and he asked them to work on this with the Republican Party. Now, we had a majority at that time. We may have gotten something done then, but now we lost the midterms. We lost the House in the midterms, okay? So we're going to get nowhere with this House because the House is owned by Donald Trump. For all intents and purposes, Mike Johnson isn't the Speaker of the House, all right? And neither is Marjorie Taylor Greene because she marches to her little master's orders too, okay? Donald Trump is the de facto Speaker of the House. He is telling them what to do. He's telling them what not to cooperate on. And they are following his every word like little puppy dogs with little leashes around their collars, barking at his heels, because that's what they are. A bunch of cowardly little wimps. All right? So this would have been the most comprehensive border bill in 40 years. Okay? It is supported and backed by the Border Patrol Union and the Republican-aligned Chamber of Commerce of the United States and the Wall Street Journal editorial board. All right? This also encompassed funding for the Ukraine and for Israel. We're going to leave that out of the discussion because the issue here is this border, our border. Okay? Lindsey Graham, at one point during these negotiations, warned the GOP in the House that they would not get a better deal on a border bill than this, even if Donald Trump were reelected, because quite frankly, and rightfully so, the Democratic Party will never allow a bill at any time that does not have a path to citizenship. That is the litmus test. So one of the other things that this bill would do would strip Texas of its power to regulate the border, because in fact, in 1948, in Takahashi versus Fish and Game Commission, this is what the Supreme Court ruled. The federal government has broad constitutional powers in determining what aliens shall be admitted to the United States, the period they may remain, the regulation of their conduct before naturalization, and the terms and conditions of their naturalization. Under the Constitution, the states are granted no such powers. Now, the federal government has sued Texas twice, once over what they considered a brutal border bill, and then again when they used barbed wire floats in the Rio Grande to slow the flow of immigrants. They have also literally, in spite of this ruling of the Supreme Court, just took over, what the heck's the name of the park? Hold on a minute here. See, you get me all worked up. They get me all worked up. Okay. They seized Shelby Park, which is on the border, all right? And it is used by the U.S. Border Patrol. So they basically have seized this using their own National Guard. And in July, a woman and 2 children drowned in the Rio Grande because the National Guard prevented the U.S. Border Patrol from assisting them as they were drowning. So Governor Abbott has blood in his hands on top of everything else. He is one of the cruelest men I have ever met. He's a man who denied construction workers drink breaks during the heat of the summer in Texas. He has no empathy for anybody, and he's in a wheelchair. One would think that he would have some kind of empathy for the human race somewhere in his disgusting body, but he doesn't. So this bill would strip Texas of that authority. And Texas, by the way, lost in the Supreme Court. They were told to take those floats down, and they did, but they're building new ones because according to Governor Abbott, they didn't say anything about us putting them back in. So the next time the GOP cries about the border and whines about it, you can tell them to shut the fuck up. They had their chance. And again, I urge you to go to the YouTube version of this video and see all of the backup we have in this video that tells you the complete story of this bill. I will talk to you all later.